Welcome to the All Things Geekery podcast. I'm your host, Detached.
Hey guys, and I'm Victus. So today we're going to talk about some breakaway games that we've encountered over the last month, some games we're looking forward to, and some old games that we've actually decided to resurrect, to start playing again. Maybe even some surprise games that we put on the shelf and allowed to collect dust, and they've actually become little jewels that we've now started playing. So to start us off, I think some of the listeners, and I know you and myself, Detached, have been playing this game quite a bit. It's Monster Hunter World.
I like to kill some monsters.
You and me both.
That kind of sounded creepy, didn't it?
Well, in this context, it is not creepy to go out and we are slaughtering an entire species of monsters. But that's besides the point.
Can I make my shing shing noise? Because I like the shing shing noise.
Shing shing.
The swords go ching.
But yeah, I personally have not been I've known about Monster Hunter. When I had a 3DS there for a little bit, I had the Monster Hunter 4 game on it. I played it for 10 minutes, fought the first monster. It was some rabbit thing. Took me 45 minutes to fight this stupid beast. And I was like, nope, this is too tough. Not going to touch it again. You know, haven't thought about Monster Hunter again until Monster Hunter World came along.
I never had a 3DS, but, you know, I was definitely involved in the gaming realm at that time and saw it. And pretty much what you said is everybody across the board was talking about how tough the game was. And there just wasn't a lot of love per se for the way the game was developed and how it functioned. Monster Hunter World has kind of hit the shelves and has become this overnight sensation. And I mean, watch the streamers. The streamers are loving it, and it is just plastered the social media lately.
Oh yeah, I mean, and they did something different with this game that they had yet to do with the other games. You know, Monster Hunter, the entire series always had a core fan base. You know, you didn't really bring in new people, but you always satisfied those that still played it. You know, it was kind of always the same mechanics, and not to say they got away from it, but they took small aspects and added really good quality of life increases to it that really brought the masses to this game. I mean, this thing is the best-selling Monster Hunter game to date, across the board. You'll find very few retractors from it. There's some core that kind of complained that they kiddied it down too much. They put on the bumpers per se, but overall, I mean, huge success in what they've done with it. In myself and I know you, we had one of our gaming buddies. We were kind of keeping an ear to it, but it was only after he got it, he was like, "Yeah, it's really good." Then another person got it. Then another person got it, and then all of a sudden, our entire clans got it and played it.
Yeah,
so.
It's funny, that whole shift. It happened, like you said, one right after the other. I fell in love with the game because I have a huge love for MMOs, and it has a very big component of how the old school MMOs functioned, because you've got the gathering, you've got the weapon building, the crafting, the grind that I love of an MMO, and this game functions very similar to that. And, you know, going out and killing monsters and crafting and just the world base, everything that you can explore. It's a very open world feel. Just A to Z, they did a fantastic job with the game. I really don't have any complaints, all in all. The weapon system and how it functioned from a crafting standpoint, I thought they did a top-notch job. Really, the only clunky part about the game that was kind of I wish they would fix, is how you partner up with people in the game. And, you know, you only get 4 people in a party, and it's a little clunky to get the party started and to figure that piece out.
Yeah, and I guess that's what one detractor currently, and all the core will say it's the same way across all the Monster Hunters, is, especially for me being I would say I would be a noob to the Monster Hunter, figuring out all the nuances and all the little things that you really have to know to really succeed in Monster Hunter World. It took us actually going online and figuring stuff out, like what does this little symbol mean above my monster when he's doing this, or because it doesn't explain any of that. It pops up tutorials, some just to cover the basics, but after that it's just like, here you go, right to the fire, have fun.
Yeah, they literally burnt you to death, and they dropped you right in the middle of the fire and said, have fun.
Right, and there was some allure to that, of course, figuring it out along the way, me personally. But yeah, I'm right there with you. The one thing I've noticed playing it, I'm getting very close to endgame now, and I say that, and I've got 95 hours into that game, and it has been a long time since I put into an RPG-S type game like this 95 hours. And I'm not even at endgame yet. I'm almost there. But still, that tells you of the quality of game. And what kept me going is that no battle is the same. Even if you fight the exact same monster and fight him several times, it will never be the same.
Yeah, it changes. Almost every fight that you're in, there's different methods, different weapons. It seems like the environment plays a huge part as well. And, like you said, if you come into a fight and you're fighting the same monster, the AI does not function the same way the same time. His reactions, maybe he gets angry at a different time. He doesn't have the same moves every single time. And that really kind of threw me off, because a lot of those RPG style, hybrid MMOs like this, you can jump in and learn the mechanics, and the mechanics really never change. This one's not quite that way. There is kind of a learning curve with this game as far as strategy. And I will say this, if you're a runner and a gunner, it's not the game for you, because it does take some patience, and it takes some understanding of how to work with your teammates as far as the buffs, the nerfs, the health gen, everything that surrounds around your power, your stamina, the time to hit a beast versus not. The whole thing is a finely packaged, gift-wrapped, wonderful bundle of joy that said, here, have fun.
Yeah, and it couldn't have come to a better time for those that were looking for a grindy game to play. Don't get me wrong, there is a lot of grind to do, and sometimes just for the smallest of things. There was times I would kind of get stuck a little bit, and I was like, all right, I need to go back and get an armor set, and I'd spend hours grinding, killing the same monster over and over, but I never felt like I was even approaching burnout on it.
Yeah, I've never felt burnout with the game. There has been some frustration because I've been able to beat the stupid monster, but I've not been burnout.
Right. And that's to be expected. But then you sit there and you take a breath, you come back the next day, and then you're like, all right, we're going to do it. And then you beat that monster, and you're like, yeah, it went down. Next monster.
Yeah, it's, for me, I'm a checklist guy, especially when it comes to games like this. If it has a progressive armor system and weapon system and ranking system, then it becomes kind of a task list for me. And both of us are completionists, so we've got to have the awards, we've got to have all the gear, all the weapons, all the things that we like. Now, there's some weapons in this game, I don't like their playability and their function of how they work. They're very, very clunky for my playstyle. So when it comes to the weapons, literally I have a task list of things that I have written down and I've wanted to go after. And my playstyle, it does not matter across the board. Pretty much every game that I have played in this fashion, like a monster hunter, I always go for the ranged guys. So your bows, pretty much anything that has magic attached to it, I've always kind of gravitated towards that playstyle. We don't have magic in this game. We don't have, tickle fingers. We don't have Nova bombs. We don't have, well, there's a reference to Destiny. We don't have magic and healing spells per se. We do have the glaive, and there are some healing aspects to the way it functions, which I do like. But all in all, I think the best part of this game is that the story is not a one and done. It's a continual add-on, and we just had a brand new update. We got the Devil Joe, or Devil Haw, however you pronounce his name. You know, he was
the devil.
The devil. He was introduced as a free DLC into the game, and it opened up a brand new story quest that talks about where he came from, and now you've got to go do this research. So as far as the way they've added the game, you don't have to have these dry spells in a game like this. Like some of our other favorites that we've played in past have had these huge dry spells of 3, 5, 6, 7 months along the way, where you're grinding the same thing over and over and over, and you just get burnt out with the game. This, I think there is enough different things in the game that you can go do. To be honest, I like going out in the world and just gathering stuff. That's fun to me.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I mean, being that I put in 90 some odd hours into the game itself, but I've only unlocked or built, I should say, a handful of suits. I have 3 suits that I use.
Yeah, I've got
but
2.
There's 20 suits you could use and upgrade to their max potential and use as part of the end game?
Yeah, there's, I think, 20 sets of armor right now in the game, and there's multiple versions of that. You know, you've got your, I guess it would be considered your pink armor, like your pink Raytheon, your pink Rathalos. They've got that next tier of gear in there. And now we've got the new stuff from the devil. And that's a whole nother tier as well.
Yeah, so, I mean, between the gathering, right there with you going out and just gathering, I need to hit a quota. Or they kind of fix that with the whole, like, the farm that you have, and you can bring that back. That kind of, and that's another really cool aspect. They knew that, going out and gathering a 1-by-1, especially when you're hitting end game and you're burning through the material, you needed something to accommodate your burning through of materials, because you're going to need them. You're going to need all those materials when you hit end game and you're fighting your elder dragons. So they included this farm, this tree that you can grow things on, that you come back from every mission and you always have materials that are waiting for you. Now, albeit you do have to wait for them, but it was a very smart move for them to include something like that to kind of scale with you, and not get too grindy to where you always had to go out and find and spend hours looking for those handful of materials, and then going through and farming the monsters for their material. I can't remember. I think I'm upwards of 10 times killing Nergigante for his stupid armor set, just to get all those materials, but never got burnt out. I'll still go back and kill him.
Yeah, Nergigante was a very fun fight. It was very challenging. He was rough as could be. He was super tanky, and he had an aspect to him. You never really kind of knew what was coming next. He always seemed to change a little bit, and it was much different from some of the other fights. Kind of learned some of their mechanics and how they function a little bit. Now, go past him a little bit, and there's 2 dragons that I just finished fighting that were an absolute pain in my butt to finish, because I wanted to solo them and I wasn't going to do it with the team. And it was, I cannot think of their names. One of them was Val. He was the basically demon dragon that lived, underground. Val Hasak was his name.
Yeah, he was definitely a struggle for me. I tried to 2-man him, and I just get frustrated. I fought him for the first time. I was fainting all the time. For the first time, I went back and fight him again. Usually at the second time, completely wiping on the dragon, dying 3 times and going back and going back to fight him. I usually figured out, no, I did it again. That stupid dragon and his poison cloud kept getting me. But, came back, took a breath. All right, we can do this. Went back and I, soloed him.
Yep.
Albeit I was using a different weapon at the time, but
yeah, I finally soloed him and got it. He's got an amazing looking gear set. I love his armor and the way it looks. It cosmetically is amazing. Now, from a perk standpoint, it doesn't really do a whole lot. And then the other dragon that was a pain in the butt was the metallic skinned dragon that basically controls wind. He was a freaking nightmare to solo.
Oh, Kushala.
That thing. out of all the dragons so far and other monsters, he's been probably the biggest pain to learn how to fight. I went and fought him one time. Really, the only other dragon that I hated fighting as much as him was Diablos.
That end game, it was challenging. I mean, fighting the Elder Dragons, of course, there's even a more end game after that, and then you get onto your last dragon, so spoiler all those out there.
Spoiler.
Xeno. Spoiler. Xeno. Man.
Have you beat Xeno?
I have.
I died, and he had a skull on him. I was so mad. Like, I didn't even save the game. I just turned my Xbox off.
Oh, I did the same thing. I had sat there and fought, and it's a long fight. There's no doubt about it. You cannot do, except for those pros, I know it's out there, but I was approaching 30, 35 minutes of wailing on this guy, and then I just made some simple mistakes, and that was it. I was done and getting sent back to HQ. I quit. I put the controller down, and I walked away. Came back the next day and, one-shot him. So...
yeah, I haven't been back yet, so that's still a challenge to be had.
But, I mean, it just goes into this game had all the right combinations of things for people that love the RPG, they wanted a grind to do, especially for the entire community that had been kind of looking and burnt out on a repetitive grind that was happening, like with Destiny and a couple other games that weren't filling that void.
Yeah. And
then come along Monster Hunter. Wow, it just blew up. Now it's kind of fallen away. People are beating the game and getting done with it, and you transition into other games now, or are waiting on the next story game per se. But it's still going. It's got a lot of players.
It does. It has a huge fan base, huge player base. It's extremely healthy right now. The streaming community is very healthy with it, and I think it's been a fantastic replacement. I know even for myself, I was burnt out with some of the other games and was really looking for a new outlet. So, they did a fantastic job with this. And one last little touch point on it was the hunter rank itself. Now, the hunter rank doesn't really mean a whole lot except just how you've progressed through the game. And it kind of gives you an overall, you see this dude running around, and he's level, 86. You're like, whoa, look at this guy. Or, there's some rank 50s, 60s. I think the max is 100? Or is it 105?
I've seen some even like 150s. I don't know if there is a cap.
So, whatever that rank is that's cap out there, you see that, and, you do get to see new gear, and you get to see kind of what's out there and what is to be had. So they kind of give you this little promo prep with some of the other characters that you see out in the world that's got this cool looking gear. You're like, whoa, I want that. So that was kind of a neat aspect for it as well.
Oh yeah, I mean, especially queuing up with randoms out there. I mean, you starting out at a low level, and you'd have some high ranks come in and kind of just one shot whatever you're fighting, because they have the best gear. They're doing ridiculous damage. But then you start approaching their level, and you start to see, get to their level and understand how to do the ranks. But yeah, it's all about how long you played. Really, after a certain point, it's how many monsters you've killed. Basically equals your hunter rank in a way. That was definitely a game that used up a lot of my time. Now, I mean, game was released, was it yesterday? Day before yesterday? It's been kind of picking up steam, and people are really been keeping an eye on. That's been scratching that almighty pirate itch out there.
Arg.
Sea of Thieves.
Yeah, I've been watching this game very close. When it was first previewed and we got that little snippet, I mean, you can be a pirate. Who doesn't want to be a pirate? You go loot the booty. As bad as that sounds, but hey, you get to control your own ship. You have this huge story mission, and it's, you're in the open seas. Come on, who wouldn't want to jump into it? Now, I have not played the game yet. I missed the beta. But they are apparently having a blast with the game. I do know a lot of our fellow YouTubers and streamers out there that have gotten a hold of it and are really enjoying the play style and how the game functions. And if you like the cartoon aspect of a game, this one has that cartoon feel to it and look.
Yeah, ever since we played Black Flag, Assassin's Creed Black Flag.
Black Flag, yeah.
You had your own pirate ship, you're able to upgrade it, you're able to do, go in some pretty impressive naval battles and what you could do. This takes it kind of a cue off that, where you have your own ship, depending on the crew that you're running with, either 1, 2, or 4-man ships, if I remember correctly. And different sizes you go out, and you can have quests. You help these quote unquote factions that you level up with. The game is as good as really you make it to be. Some people are like, yeah, it's not my fix. They're not really saying anything bad about it, but they say the amount of shenanigans that you can get into that game just by having fun and doing crazy piratey stuff is astounding.
Yeah, that's the one thing that really kind of caught my eye and attention, was it wasn't all story driven. So that means there's open world, there's multiple other things than just let's go complete a quest, let's loot some treasure, let's upgrade something, and then move on to the next thing. There's this whole PvP realm to this game with pirate ships, and that is really what attracted me, because you're taking PvP to an open world feel now. That's kind of next level stuff for people that like competitive and, like you said, the shenanigans. And if you watch the previews and how things function in the game, there's things of creating bombs and swimming underwater, looting some other dude's ship halfway down the ocean, planting a bomb, swimming out to yours, stealing his treasure, and then all of a sudden you see his ship blow up. And now he's boatless, hanging out in the middle of the ocean, and here come these sharks. So that kind of stuff is really what interested me about the game, is, like you said, it's the shenanigans and the stuff that you can do that basically takes your opponents out in kind of a very creative fashion. It's not just, I've got this big pirate ship, I went and blew them up. There's other things that you can do with it as well.
I still have a concern over the actual lifespan of the game. I'm not going to say that you're not going to have a blast while you play it, but how long you continue to play it, I don't know if it's going to have quite the life that other games out right now are enjoying of their continual fan base. I'm not going to say there will probably be a small percentage of the actual player base of Sea of Thieves that will be, they're not going to like the game or anything like that, but those that actually, the majority, I'm going to say, are going to thoroughly enjoy it. When they get done, they're like, okay. I've seen a lot of it. It's not a $60 game, that's for sure, from what people are playing and really getting into it. But you're definitely going to enjoy your time in it.
Yeah, I think overall the community is very happy with it, very excited. It's creating a lot of hype in the gaming community. And it's another one of those games that's very healthy right now. But I do agree. I think this is going to be a period game where it's going to run its course. People are going to be done with it, and they're going to move on to the next thing that can fulfill that need of creativity, an aspect of fun. Maybe it's a grindy game, whatever they enjoy and like. And I honestly don't think Sea of Thieves is going to be one of those unless they begin making it a DLC-based game. And I don't think that's the plan for it. I don't think they're going to keep dropping things onto it. It looks and feels like it's going to be a one-time, what you buy is what you get, and they may drop some updates to it here or there. Now, I will say, as far as the game goes, when you get it, there's a lot of content that comes with it that I've seen. And I think that's one benefit that you get out of games like this, is what you pay for is what you get. And yeah, like I said, there may be some updates that come to it, but you're not going to pay $60 and then have to wait 4 months down the road for your first DLC, and then you get 12 and a half seconds of game time, and then you're waiting 6 months for your next one when the game's broken.
There hasn't been a game like that recently that's done something like that. No.
Oh, why would they do that? That's terrible planning. I don't know any company that would do that. That's stupid.
Oh, rip Destiny. Okay. But yeah, it keep going back to it. It very well seems like a game that you can make it the $60 game, especially if you have people to play with, and you're hopping in and out, and you just try to make it as crazy piratey fun as you want it to be. If you go into, I don't think it'll be an enjoyable game if you go into it with a serious tone, because that's not honestly how they made the game to be.
Yeah, it was meant to bring fun. It was not meant to be this serious competitive game. You know, I think you're always going to have that fan base. You're going to have people who naturally gravitate towards competitive, grindy games. And they typically don't like the lighthearted, fun stuff. And then you've got your players who like the lighthearted, fun style games who might jump into a competitive game every once in a while and play if they've got some team members who are competitive and can help them. But that's not their jam. That's not what they usually go for. This game, Sea of Thieves, seems to have a little bit of both. It's got the competitive to a degree, but it still has that level of fun that kind of outweighs everything, is what I'm seeing.
Yeah, I mean, well, we'll see. I mean, the game's only been out 3 days.
Three and a half days.
Three and a half days.
And whatever beta time people have gotten in.
Right. Which was actually quite a bit for that type of game, and very impressive on the developers to release betas basically back to back like they did to the community for them to test and make sure everything's working well. They did a couple capacity tests to get people out, although I think they did it in the wrong order. They probably should have done the capacity test at the beginning.
Right.
But
I
neither here nor there.
Yeah, but I think all in all they did a good job with it. I think it was smart in running those tests like they did and having the betas as long as they did. Again, I think there are some other games out there that have made some really bad decisions, and the other gaming companies out there have kind of set back, looked at the drawing board, and capitalized on some of these other mistakes companies have made and said, how can we gain favor in the gaming realm and community and kind of rally people up to have some fun, excitement, get some life back in some of these communities. And I think a few of these games like Monster Hunter and Fortnite and Sea of Thieves and some of these other, fun big games that have come out are doing a good job with it. I've really enjoyed kind of those host of games that have come out recently.
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned one that really, to me personally, has kind of come out of the blue in how popular it has exploded to be. And that's Fortnite.
Yeah, Fortnite is just blowing the top off.
I mean, for a while there, people heard Fortnite. Most everybody was playing. Those that played the battle royale were playing PUBG. I was one of those, and I was like, Fortnite, meh. It's a kiddie game, or it's a cut down version of PUBG, and yes, it is to an extent, but it's done so in such a way, and I think if PUBG had actually fixed their problems, and by problems I usually mean server stuff, server problems, the rubber banding, the things that were happening just in the actual production server itself was affecting the continual gameplay of people playing the game. But you hop over to Fortnite, yeah, it's your easier version of PUBG. There's things you can do in the game like building in this world. You go collect materials. There's all different aspects. The entire infrastructure is destructible, but it's a smooth, well-made game. And now they're releasing on all these platforms too. PUBG's right there as well, but it's just exploded. I mean, even some of the casuals that we play with have been roped into it.
Yeah,
I haven't yet.
I haven't yet, but they have dived like full head on. And in our group, we've got some casuals, and we've got a couple of very competitive players that like to really dig in, and they truly are competitive style shooter and looter type playing. And the game itself is got that cartoon look. It's basically the cartoon version of PUBG. And I was along the lines of you. It's Fortnite. It looks kiddie. I don't want anything to do with it. The PUBG is very strategic, very militarized. It looked good. But like you said, the server problems, the lag issues, the rubber banding, the server drop, those are the things that really kind of deterred me from jumping full into PUBG and getting into it. Now, I haven't actually played Fortnite. My children have, and they love it. And I've played with them, in some of the scenes and things that they've done. They really enjoy the building aspect of Fortnite. They like to go and tear things down. And what they really like to do is if they see somebody building something, they like to go tear it down and try to hide from them so they don't know that they're actually tearing things down. That is hilarious to watch. But you're right. I mean, this game kind of came out of left field. Nobody saw it coming, and it has made a huge impact with the streaming community for sure. There's tons of streamers out there right now. I mean, if you look at Twitch, about 90% of the feed is Fortnite, and they're having a ton of fun. People that were bitter and angry, and I mean, you just watch the chat messages come across Twitch over the last few months, and I mean, it was just dirty, nasty, scummy. I mean, you felt dirty, and I quit watching Twitch. I quit streaming myself, and a lot of people took a break from it. And then here comes Fortnite, and it's brought the health back, and it seems to have a healthy, competitive community again. It's a lot of fun. There's a lot of laughs. There's a lot of good times. There's a lot of just clips and other things of silly things happening inside the game. So that's been really cool to watch and see and enjoy from a second party, I guess, because I haven't actually jumped in and played a whole bunch of the game yet.
Yeah, and what's even allowed it to win out, I think, is the game's not even technically released yet. We're playing just the multiplayer aspect that is Fortnite. I mean, when it was originally talked about, it was like, okay, you got this base building game where you have to hold out to these zombie hordes. And I'm like, oh, all right. And then they kind of shifted gears. I didn't say shifting gears, but release the other portion, which they hadn't talked about, which was this battle royale part. And, for one, it's free. Anybody can pick it up. And now, even more so, they've gone cross-platform. I mean, part of our clan plays it on PC, and the other part's playing right with them on Xbox. So I think with those pieces right there is allowed the Fortnite and even those that aren't really good at being the competitive or would even succeed at PUBG are actually doing really good in Fortnite because of how it's built. So it's allowing even those out there to really enjoy a game like a battle royale.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, I like the battle royale style. That's a fun, it's a niche for gaming communities for sure. Fortnite definitely took a turn because when we watched the original video, the whole base building game, I love building inside games. I mean, take Minecraft and any game that you have to go out and build bases, protect them, make sure that things are done correctly. You can set up traps. That was what excited me about the game. And, they did shift gears. They went to the PvP battle royale. You got this huge 100, player. They fly into the base. They've got this giant arena. That is a lot of fun to do because, one, you get 100 people. And, you could wander around for minutes upon minutes within the game and never see anybody, but you're collecting materials, you're building things, you're trying to find weapons, you're looting boxes and other buildings that have got stuff in them. So it's kind of the twofold. You've got I'm trying to hunt for people and still not die and, do well. And you're trying to build things and loot these buildings and scavenge. So there's some really cool aspects to the game, and I think as they progress and build, I would like to see the other portions of the game come for the base building and some story outside of just a PvP battle royale. And I think the game would do even that much better if they brought those aspects to it.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they've gone back and released their whole story trailer for that's going to be this whole base building, zombie defending game, which is originally what they advertised it to be, and then they're coming back around, and saying, hey, this is not only going to be a battle royale. Here's the other part of it. So be really exciting when we get to that release time to see how they've done with both pieces of those and keeping both of those up to date.
I think the cool part about that, so you look at some of the other games that are struggling. They've had a hard time keeping their communities, and those communities have gone and found other games. And not just Destiny. There's other games out there that have struggled as well. And those communities are looking for these games like Fortnite. So Fortnite has become this out of left field superstar, and it's got even more to offer. So these other companies, are they out there looking at the future of what some of these other games are bringing? Are they trying to up their game? Are they trying to offer things to the players? Are they trying to keep a player base? Or, have the golden nuggets of the dollars that they've made off of these games kind of skewed their vision of what they want to do? I think there's a few of them out there that their visions are skewed and they really don't care what the player base wants. They're just going to push through, and those are going to be the games that die off, because 99.9% of all gamers, if your Twitch streamers aren't happy, the rest of the gaming community is not happy. If the YouTubers aren't streaming about it and talking about it and making content videos about it, the other people that are playing these games aren't going to enjoy them as much. That's kind of the gaming realm that we've got right now, unfortunately, is if your streamers are happy, the rest of the gaming community is happy. And, Sea of Thieves, Fortnite, Monster Hunter. And if you look at the other portion of games, people are going back and playing some of these older games that really, people have played through multiple times. I'm one of them. I'm going back and playing some of my old games right now because, well, they're fun. It's been nice to jump back into, some story-based games that I really enjoy, and it's nice to sit down and just enjoy a little bit of playtime, not have to worry about all the other stuff going on. What's the latest and greatest and newest thing to make content about or stream about or talk about?
Yeah, just kind of took a quick look at Twitch right now, and you have two games that I think for the foreseeable future, unless we have another one come up, is going to be top dogs is Overwatch. It seems like that game cannot be dethroned from being at least top 5 Twitch. Even with a brand new game that comes out and it highly streamed, it'll always be there. And then you follow right behind between Fortnite and like League of Legends is up there, and then you'll have a new game come in and out. And Sea of Thieves, one game that you've mentioned interest in, A Way Out.
Yeah, that looks amazing.
Yeah, you have those staples, and it's going to be interesting to see if those kings of Twitch and Mixer is probably right there. I think looked over at Mixer, Fortnite was actually number 1 over at Mixer. If they can hold their crown, see if any game can come up and hold it for a consistent period of time.
One game you mentioned, A Way Out. That's a new game. It's coming out. It's what I call a buddy system game, and you're playing with another player to figure out puzzles and work your way out of situations. Those are the kind of games that are fun. They've got cool stories with them. They're reaction-based games. And one of those that are coming out is, I've actually been waiting on this game for quite a few years. The last one came out and it was on the Xbox 360 platform. They wanted to wait because of the technology and the way the story was running, and there were things that happened. It's a very cool production company. It's from the Undead Labs, and it's the State of Decay game. The second one is actually coming up on pre-order. The story, the graphics, the gameplay, the base building, the whole kit and caboodle looks absolutely insane good. So I'm very excited for that one to come out.
Yeah, talking about games for which we're going back and playing. Even though I've been playing Monster Hunter a lot, and still going back to it, I definitely was feeling I didn't have a story game to play. And so I decided to go back to and play and beat Mass Effect Andromeda.
I laugh because I disowned the game.
And rightfully so. I mean, we had such great experience going through the story, and you may have some gripes about Mass Effect 3, but we had a entire connection built, and our character built up between and what was Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3. So we had, and this was expectations on us, but some of them, they needed to be there because it was the next gen game of Mass Effect. And then we got the game, and overall the gameplay was great. There was a couple things where like, yeah, I don't know about that, but some of the systems they added were good, but then came the bugs.
Oh my gosh, the weird graphics that would intertwine with one another, the choppiness, the facial expressions.
And that's what killed it. That part alone is what killed it for myself. A lot of people out there, they stopped playing. I beat the first planet of Mass Effect Andromeda and I quit. I just couldn't handle that part because I've been used to Mass Effect 3. If you compare it to that, it's like, what happened, BioWare? Of course, there's a whole backstory about how Andromeda was actually created by a different, not actual core team that was BioWare. It was BioWare Montreal, I think it was. Don't quote me on that. But since then, that, the fallout of Andromeda, that studio no longer exists. Anyway, but they didn't, what happened to this? Why are we looking at, lifeless eyes as we try to have a conversation with the person, which used to be the best part of the game. You get to see their facial expressions, so, yeah, it was still clunky, and even in Mass Effect 3 your guy would make some expression with his arms that didn't really make sense, but it wasn't like to the extent that we saw in Andromeda.
Yeah, Andromeda was almost an unfinished product is what they gave us, and
yeah,
the clunkiness is not even a good word for how bad it was. It was almost, if you've ever watched the behind the scenes of 3D graphing and creating characters, it was like watching a production of a character that was still being created, and he's hitting the play button to watch how the graph functions and all the little 3D connections. And he went, "Oh, that looks good. Let's give that to him." Blech. And that's pretty much how I felt when I played the game. It was absolute trash. So, maybe there's some life left. There's other things that I have ahead of that game and probably won't be touching it anytime soon. So, I don't know. It can't compare to my experience I had with Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3. If it can come back and tie those stories together and give me something that was a feeling of Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3, then I will count it as a game that I would put on my shelf. But right now, it's a game that's in my trash.
Right there with you. And, we were expecting some type of connection to the original Mass Effect universe, and there's hardly any. We were expecting maybe some type of carryover, because it was kind of teased to us when we ended Mass Effect 3 and they were talking about the guest name. There's like, don't delete your saves just yet, because that was specifically mentioned. And then Andromeda happened, and basically the only choice we get to reference is if our shepherd was male or female. That was it. Spoiler, just saying. It's at the beginning game, so you're going to see it. On that note, with that said, they have done a lot of improvements to those animations, and they've refined it, not to the level that we'd ultimately want, but I am enjoying the game right now, playing through it again. And yes, sometimes I'm still getting kind of cringy with the animations, but I think that's because it could have done a lot better. The technology we have now, the facial recordings that we have now that we're seeing in games, you can't even distinguish between what is the real one and what is the CGI one nowadays. And that's coming to gaming. So going back to it, it's really hard.
Yeah, I'm very excited for the facial recognition software and that technology. It has come a long way. So very excited to see that tech come into the realm.
Yeah, me too. I mean, quick call back to one game that I think was really impressive about this was Halo 5. You can say what you want about the gameplay, but the cinematics was astounding, yes. Same with Halo 2 Remastered. They did the exact same thing. And that's one thing I always look for in the CGI cinematics of gaming or the gameplay, facial features, specifically when somebody's talking. Nail that. You don't nail it, and we have another Andromeda.
Yeah. If we've got another Andromeda, you can count me out. Just
hopefully we don't.
Hopefully we don't. Hopefully we don't. I'm anxious to see what happens in the gaming realm. Some of the other ones that I've really been excited for and jumped into, this is one that I had on my list a year ago, and when it dropped, it was a bit pricey. It dropped at $60. And for the game style and what it has actually got a lot of content and a lot of time that you can play in the game, but it is a one and done. You can play it and it's got in-game story, but it is all story mode game. And you know me, I love stories. I love good stories, and I love Sherlock Holmes. So Sherlock Holmes, The Devil's Daughter, it came out. This is the second one in the storyline. The first one was out of this world good, and they produced this one last year, and it went on sale a couple of weeks ago. I picked it up, and it has really grabbed my attention. One, because if you like Sherlock Holmes, you like the detective mystery about things that has a little bit of a dark corner to the way the story feels. This game is really good because it's basically playing a Sherlock Holmes novel in a game visually. Not only are you playing Sherlock Holmes, you get to see into his life a little bit. You get to see some of his dark pasts and things that he's done. And this is a little bit later in his life, and he's gone a little bit wacko, and they've diagnosed him with a disease, and the only thing that cures this disease is him getting a hold of really strange and difficult cases, and it basically focuses his mind for him. Outside of that, he kind of becomes delirious. So they've done a really good job with the story, and I have to say, it is blasted hard when it comes to the mystery. There's lots of puzzles. There's math involved in it. So you kind of have to sit down and break some of the sentences, the clues, and you have to figure all these things out and put them together. Well done game, and it's really kind of grabbed my attention these last few weeks. So that's been a nice outlet for me. It's not grindy at all. You can jump in and play a few minutes to a couple of hours and just really just kind of be satisfied with playing. That's what's been nice.
We'll see what games come out here next week, months. It's looking promising. Games coming out this year, and we'll see some close to holidays release date, and like Fortnite actually getting a release, seeing how that game does.
Yeah, I'm very excited for the next realm and where we go with the games. There's lots of cool things coming out, and I'm anxious to see some of the fixes for some of our other old games that we enjoy playing. And one last topic before we jump off of here, I finally got to go watch Thor Ragnarok, which was out of this world good.
Kind of behind there.
I'm kind of behind, I know. Out of all the Marvel films, guys, this was my favorite one. The witty banter, the graphics, the story, the interaction of Hulk and Thor sitting on a bed together, arguing about who's got better fire. Thor is mighty. And then, you've got Hulk over here complaining and whining. He's like, no, Hulk like raging fire. That out of this world good. So, yeah, I think our next couple of episodes, we've got some pretty fun and exciting things to talk about. Definitely going to work on getting our schedules back around. Mine has been way crazy these last few months. We've got a lot of new things happening in our family, so we just haven't had a lot of time to game and get together and hang out and chat and talk. But those, we're getting ready to hit spring. Our spring consists of, 30-degree weather and snow. I don't know where you guys live, but that's what our spring looks like.
Where the rest of the world is enjoying a nice 67-degree weather.
Yeah, we don't have that, unfortunately. Well, that pretty much wraps up the show for tonight, guys. I think between all of the games we've got out right now, we would love to hear your comments and feedback on what you guys are enjoying, what you're playing, what you think about Monster Hunter, Fortnite, and Sea of Thieves, and are you guys playing anything that is old and got mold and crust on it from hanging out? Are you playing any old retro games? Let us know what your thoughts are. Drop us a line in the comments below. Check us out on our social media. You can find me out on Twitter at Detached Gaming. You can find Victus out on Twitter as well, even though he doesn't hang out as often as I do. You can find him at Victus Dark Arrow. And make sure you check out our new site for the podcast out on Podbean. And all of those links are going to be in the description below. I hope you guys have an amazing weekend. We have enjoyed spending time with you.
We'll see you guys in the next episode.